Hey guys, welcome back to my video. My name is Lizette, in case you guys don't know me. Thank you so much for joining me today and for watching my YouTube channel. It means so much to me. Thank you so much to those who have already subscribed and given my video a like. Thank you for helping me grow in this new journey. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. So today it's going to be a different kind of video. It's going to be kind of a sit down with me. We're going to talk about a very personal subject. It is a journey that me and my husband had to go through. Not everybody knows this story. Some of you guys that know me might know that I had a little girl she's 2 now, about 2 years ago. So let's just start off. Let's just get right into it, okay? So I'm a little nervous because it's a very sensitive subject, personal, so I've never talked about it, but if my story can help someone, why not, right? Why not put it out there? Because I remember when I was going through this situation, I would look up so many YouTube videos in hopes that it would help me. The more information I would get, the more knowledge I had. So today we are going to be talking about my IVF journey. So we had Emma thanks to IVF. Me and my husband had been married for 11 years when we decided to finally go through with IVF. So we had been trying to conceive the whole time that we were together for those 11 years. We had been struggling. We knew that I could get pregnant because I had already had a little girl, which now she is 20 years old. So we knew that I could have children, right? Let me just make sure I'm recording. So we knew that I could have children, right? So we checked that off. So we were like, okay, what's going on? Why am I not getting pregnant? I decided to go to the doctor to go do like a family planning kind of visit. And I remember they did all this lab work. I remember they found out that I had hypothyroidism, which I do take medication for. And this was like 7 years ago that I went for a family planning visit to the doctor, and they told me, well, that could be part of the reason why you're not conceiving. If we get your thyroid levels corrected, then you could probably end up pregnant. So I was way younger and I was like, okay, great, if this could be the issue, right? So then I started taking my medication, but nothing was happening. So then years just passed by. Me and my husband, to be completely transparent with you guys, we are very in love with each other, and we were very in love with each other back then too. So nothing has changed, but we were having so many problems. We were having so many arguments. Things were very tense between us because I couldn't get pregnant and we didn't know what was happening. So we were just kind of pointing fingers at each other and blaming each other and hurting each other every time we would argue because, like I said, this subject is very sensitive. So if he would tell me something that was mean, it would hurt my feelings, and vice versa. If I told him something, I'm sure it would hurt his feelings too. So we were just hurting each other a lot throughout this whole journey of trying to conceive. And is a journey that you kind of go through in silence because not everyone can understand you, right? And sometimes they just kind of judge you like, well, something's probably wrong with you. How come you haven't gone to go get checked? Or how come you can't conceive? Or it's probably your ovaries. You should go get this kind of massage. Us Hispanics, they talk about how there's a lady or sobandera that can, I don't know how you say it in English, but que te puede sobar y con eso te arregla todos los problemas y te embarazas, ¿verdad? So they claim that if you get this type of massage, they would help your ovaries get back to normal and that you would end up pregnant. So there I go. I did that as well, right? No results. So just fast forwarding, after 11 years of trying to conceive, one day we had a talk, me and my husband, and we said, I remember I told him, hey, I've been looking at this website about so-called IVF. I have a little bit of knowledge in it. I've been researching it because I was kind of becoming obsessed with the subject. And then there was this one contest that they were giving away a free IVF cycle to a couple that qualified for it or that was picked, right? So you just had to kind of share your story with them, and then you could possibly win that cycle. Well, we did not win that cycle, but they did reach out to me and they said, hey, since you did go ahead and, enter the contest, we want to offer you to, like at a discounted price to kind of come in and get some blood work done so we can check your husband's semen analysis and like your blood work, what's it called? AMH? I'm not sure, but to check my egg quality, right? So I told my husband, and I was nervous because, like I said, it's a very sensitive subject, and I was not sure if he was going to be up for it or if he was going to feel just bad that I was requesting for him to go through with that, right? And then because you are also always afraid of what those results are going to be and to know the truth, right? So surprisingly, he agreed to it and he was for it, and I was so happy because I was afraid he wasn't going to want to go through with that. So we decided to make the appointment. We went in, we checked our levels, and then we got the results. And I'm not like an expert, so I apologize in advance if my terminology is not the correct when it comes to all these wordings from the IVF Journey talk, but I'm gonna try my best. But I remember they said, these are your levels for this and for that and for that. So they just basically told me that my egg quality was excellent and that I was a good candidate to go through with IVF, right? Because that's another thing, you have to be a good candidate to actually be able to go through IVF. So, which I thought anybody could go through with it. So, and they told me a little bit about my husband. I didn't understand too much because I've never looked into those kind of tests, right? I've just kind of worried more about me. So it basically, they just told me these are the results, but they didn't go into details explaining it to me. They just said that if we wanted further information, that we can request an appointment, right? Which we were going to have to pay for, and it was probably expensive, and we probably just didn't have the funds, right? This was years ago. And then so we said, I just kept the results, right? I just told my husband, I think this is what this means, because I was just doing my own Google research, and then, which is bad. And then a couple of years later, we said, I remember I told them, if we were able to afford Lizette, my oldest daughter's Sweet 15, if we were able to afford that by saving money for like almost 2 years, for her party was super expensive. It was like $25,000 total, right? We were going to do something small, and it just ended up turning into something bigger and bigger and bigger. So I was like, if we were able to spend so much money on something so dumb, now that I think about it, I'm like, why don't we look into this possible option of doing IVF? Let's just schedule an appointment. Let's just see what they tell us. Let's call them and go from there. And I asked them, is this something that you would be open to? Like, if we were to be good candidates for this, it doesn't mean we have to do it right now, but let's get the information we need so that if we are able to do this, we can start saving now, and maybe 2 years from now we can do it, right? So he was on board with me, which I was so grateful for, because sometimes men can feel some kind of way when you kind of, put them on the spot when it comes to situations like this, right? They are uncomfortable. They don't like going through with things like that because they don't want to, they're afraid of results, right? So then, Sorry, I had a brain fart. Okay, so then yeah, we scheduled the appointment, and then I called them and I reached out to them and I told them that I had results from like 3 years ago, that I had a semen analysis and they had done my blood work as well. And they just said, okay, let's schedule you a Zoom meeting through consultation with Dr. Raj, right? They were like, it's gonna be $60 for the Zoom consultation because this is when COVID was going on. And I said, okay, great, we'll go from there. So then I told doctor a little bit about my history, the results that I had for my husband. And then he told me, okay, you are a good candidate. And he basically explained to me my husband's results a little bit. Now I'm gonna go into the results for my husband. So basically, kind of what, from my understanding, what I know is that this was like a male factor. So in other words, we were struggling to get pregnant due to my husband. So basically his sperm, he did have some sperm there, but his swimmers were just kind of going around in circles. They were not going upward like they should to be able to reach my egg. So his sperm was never going to reach my egg. So I was probably never going to get pregnant, right? So this is what was going on. So they just told us, you guys are good candidates. I mean, he does still have sperm. It is alive. So we went in to see the doctor. They did more tests on both of us, and then they basically told us pricing and how everything would work. And then so now we had everything we needed, right, to possibly go through with this. So we said, okay, so now we know this is something that I think it's doable, right? We probably only have an opportunity to do it once because it is expensive. We did do a lot of shopping around, so I did look at a lot of clinics, and I looked at all the reviews you could think of, and there was 2 clinics that I was interested in, but the one that I decided to go with had great results according to the reviews. And I was just looking to have the best experience if possible because this is such a sensitive subject. A lot of money was going to go into it. And my feelings were going to go into it too. I was just guarding my heart. I was just afraid completely for me and my husband going into it, afraid of heartbreak, afraid of it failing, afraid of us investing money into this journey that it could possibly work and it could possibly not. And then if it did not work, then we would lose all that money. We could not get that money back. And we would probably never be able to do it again because, again, we're not rich. We don't have all this money. We were going to work and save towards this for like possibly 2 years to see if we could possibly get pregnant, right? It's not guaranteed going into this. So this was going to be, we were just going to have one chance if we did decide to do it. So then my mom, I don't have many friends, right? But I did have a very close relationship with my mom and her partner, which I do consider him like a dad as well. He's great with us. He's always treated us well. He treats my mom amazing. We have love for him. I am so grateful for him. Well, we always talked about these personal conversations with them because I knew they had great advice for us. And you can't just talk about these kind of conversations with just anyone because, to be honest, they can't give you great advice, right? So we talked about this with my mom and her partner, and he's always helped us out whenever we have needed something. He has been there for us. And then I remember telling him this evening, my mom has a restaurant. We were at my mom's restaurant, and I told him, hey, guess what? I did the consultation. I have all the information. You want me to share with you? Because he was invested in this subject. I mean, it was just exciting for him as well. He's like, yeah, tell me, what did they tell you? And I told him, well, they told me that we were good candidates and that it would possibly be about this much to start off, and then once you do this is the next steps. I said, so I think, I think we can do this. We're gonna save money so that hopefully in like a year and a half, if God willing, we don't have any other random spending things that happen, like, sometimes your car breaks down or things happen, and then it just takes you like all the way back again, and then you don't end up doing what you want to, get done. So I told him, if all goes well, we could possibly save this amount of money to be able to do it, right? So we're gonna work on that. We're gonna save. And at this time, I was 33 years old, right? So then, let me make sure. Yeah, I was 33 years old when I was having this conversation with, I'm just gonna say stepdad. When I was having this conversation with stepdad, and I told him, man, I'm excited, right? This might work. We might be able to do this. And then he said, well, what are you waiting for? And he's like, do it now. And I said, I can't. I don't have that money, right? He's like, how much is it? And I told him, well, it's going to be about $8,000 to start off, right? I said, that's to start off. And then after the next step, it's going to be about another so-and-so. And he's like, he goes, well, schedule that appointment. Your time is to do it now. He goes, you are young now. Your egg quality is good now. As you age, that, doesn't continue to happen. Your eggs are not as great, right? You know how they say after 35, you're old. So then I was like, yeah, but I don't have the money. He's like, I'm going to give you the money that you need. And then whenever you are able to pay me back, you can pay me back. He goes, but I don't want you to feel pressured or think about like, oh my God, I owe him money. I have to do it now. I have to pay him back. He goes, I want you to feel, comfortable with going through with that. In other words, he was not pressuring me like, oh, you have to pay me back, right? He was just like, but I need you guys, if you guys are going to do it now, because it's your time now. Stop waiting so many years, because it might not end up happening, and things happen, right? And you don't end up doing those plans or goals that you are trying to do. I said, are you serious? And I remember I started crying, because here we are saying, okay, hopefully in like a year and a half or 2 years, we can do this if it all works out and nothing happens. And we were planning, but for the future. And then, so when he told me that, I was just not prepared mentally. I was just like, are you serious? Like, I'm going to do this now? Not in like 2 years? I just couldn't believe it. I was like in disbelief, and then I shared it with my husband. I also had to make sure that he was okay with us doing this, and with his stepdad's support, and he was excited too, and he was like, yeah, let's do it, and so everything happened pretty fast. We had this conversation like midsummer, and in September we scheduled, it was like August. In August, we scheduled the appointment to talk about what are the first steps we were going to have to do. And yeah, guys, everything started from there. So then I basically, let me look at my notes really quick. Okay, so then I basically had my I started my medications, my injections, all these hormones. It was a lot that was happening, and super fast, and it was very overwhelming because there was so many medications. I had no clue how I was going to do this. I was so afraid of injecting myself. I was afraid of not doing it correct. I was afraid of drawing the medication incorrect. I was just panicking. And then my husband was going to have to give me like some of my shots too, in which I'm scared of. I just don't trust that he knows what he's doing, right? But he was the only one that was going to be able to do it. We don't live around anyone that we know. We live pretty far from our family, and he was just going to have to do it. And the injections had to be at a certain time every day. No, like it had to be punctual, right? So yeah, guys, after we had all when we went through all those few days of injections, I I finally had to go through with my egg retrieval. So I did my egg retrieval, and then from that egg retrieval, I got 3 embryos. So then I actually did mini IVF with INVOcell. So really quick, INVOcell, you guys can look it up. I'm going to try to put a picture of what it looks like. It's a little container, a little device. It's just, so in this INVOcell container, my eggs that they took out that day of the egg retrieval were going to go in there, and then my husband's sperm was going to get injected into my eggs, and which is called ICSI, right? So his sperm was going to get injected into my eggs, and all of those things, my eggs that were injected were going to go into that container, right? So then I actually, after my egg retrieval that same day, we had to go right back like in an hour or 2, and they were going to put that INVOcell device right back inside of me, right? So I remember they shoved it right back, and they basically told me, you know, you are going to incubate your own embryos. So it ended up being cheaper just because, so my mini IVF with INVOcell ended up being cheaper just because I was incubating my own babies, right? So they weren't like under the light, what do you call it? I can't even remember, but I hope you guys understand. I'm just having like a brain fart. But yeah, so I was incubating my own babies, and they were going to be in there for 5 days, and then we were going to see how many eggs I ended up with, right? So I'm all over the place now, but yeah, guys, so when I had my egg retrieval, I had like 10 eggs taken out, but I ended up with like 8 of them, right? And those 8 ended up getting all injected with my husband's sperm. So those 8 went in there in that device, but I ended up with only 3 after they took the device out 5 days later. So I ended up with 3 eggs, and then those 3 embryos, and then those embryos actually have grades, right? So if you are looking at videos because you are thinking about going through with IVF, I'm sure you have heard about how they grade your embryos, and I'm going to tell you the grades of my embryos, but I just want to let you guys know that my doctor did tell me that this is just a beauty contest, so do not get afraid if they give you a grade for your embryo that is not the greatest. So not all the doctors will tell you this. Some doctors don't even like transferring certain grade embryos, but luckily my doctor looks at it like that. He does say that he thinks that it is just a beauty contest, so do not get discouraged if the grade of your embryos are not the greatest. So I had 3 embryos, and my first embryo was a 3BB, and then I had 2 embryos that were 4CB. So according to these grades, the 3BB was the better grade embryo. So we decided, after I had my egg retrieval, the doctor said, we want you to rest for like a month so your body can recuperate from that surgery, and then if you're ready within like a month, we can go ahead and transfer your embryo, right? My doctor does give you the option to transfer 2 embryos if you want at the same time, which could possibly give you twins or even more, but he did say, but I would just go ahead and transfer 1. You're giving it a better chance, and that one can also split. But my goal was not to have twins. If it happened, great, but that was not my goal. This is not why I was doing IVF, right? So I said, no, whatever you think is the best option, whatever's gonna give me the best chance of becoming pregnant, let's go with that. So he said I would just do 1. So we went with the first embryo that has the better grade, which was a 3BB. So when we went to our appointment, which was transfer day. You know, they call you and they always make sure and tell you, hey, make sure you are drinking so and so much water, because you have to have a full bladder the day of your transfer. And they said, just confirming that you have drank your water. We're gonna see you at this time. And I said yes. They're like, we are also going to get ready to thaw your embryo, right? Because they are frozen. Those 3 embryos were frozen while I was recuperating for within that month. So I said, okay, yeah, confirm everything. I will be there, right? So then I get there and I am laying down in the bed with my legs just already kind of in position, and they basically just, and this room is super cold because this is also right next to like where they have the babies, the embryos that are frozen, right? So it's a very cold room. And then one of the nurses comes in and tells me, she asked me for my name, my birthday. She's like, I am so sorry. I just want to let you know that your embryo 3BB did not survive the thawing. So I lost that embryo, right? So then I was already feeling, why am I crying? I didn't think I was even gonna cry with this, but I was already feeling discouraged, afraid, because it was already not working out, right? I got there and I lost 1 embryo and I only had 3. So then I was already feeling discouraged. And they said, but don't worry, we have thawed the 2nd embryo and it looks great and it thawed nicely. So we are going to go through with that one. And as much as I wanted to be happy, I still felt sad, because to me it was already a baby, right? Not everyone sees it like that, but to me it was, and I worked so hard for those embryos. So I lost 1. So they ended up transferring the 2nd embryo that they thought, and as much as I wanted to be happy, I felt like I had a loss, right? So then I was already nervous going into that second it was my first transfer with my 2nd embryo that they thought. And then so then I was just like kind of nervous, but it happened. When we left, I was like, you're considered pregnant until proven otherwise, right? So then you're automatically considered pregnant once they transfer your embryo. So we walked out of the clinic, we were happy. I cried still because of that first embryo that did not make it. And then but we just continued to try to be happy. I was still happy, but I was also very anxious. And I remember that I was just trying to look for symptoms that would tell me like, hey, your boobs hurt, you're probably pregnant, or I'm peeing a lot, or I'm having that pinch feeling that they say that you feel when you have implantation, when the baby sticks. And I was just looking for all the symptoms, right? And I remember that my boobs were hurting, but then again, a lot of the medications that you are taking mimic those pregnancy symptoms. So you just kind of torture yourself those 10 days of waiting, because you have to wait 10 days after transfer to get blood work done to confirm if you are pregnant. So then, of course, during those days, I was torturing myself, and I remember I could not wait, and it was like day 5 or 6, and I started testing. I started testing at home, and they were coming out negative, right? Like day 6, let's say, I started seeing like a very faint line, and I was like, oh my god, like I see something, right? I had never seen anything throughout those 11 years of trying to conceive. So I was super excited, and then I kept taking more until the 10th day, and they were showing 2 lines, but the second one was super faint, but I could see it. And I remember going into my appointment to get blood work done, and I was super nervous because I just knew that it could possibly be a no, right? And I had already, since I was so obsessed with the subject, I was like in IVF groups, support groups on Facebook, and I remember how they would share that if they had a very faint positive test, that it was a no, right? Like it was considered a chemical pregnancy test. So then I had my blood work done, and they were supposed to call me. I went really early, and they were supposed to call me before they closed, and it was like 5 minutes before closing, and they had not called me. So I decided to call them, and I unfortunately got the news that I was pregnant. So she said, "So you are pregnant, but your numbers are not looking great. So we want to retest you again in 2 days to see if those numbers are going up, and if they're not, then you're possibly having a chemical pregnancy," right? I don't know how to explain too much what a chemical pregnancy is. To go too much into details, I don't want to give you guys the wrong information, but basically it's a pregnancy that is just not going to go through. It's just, you are pregnant, but the baby is just, it's not sticking correctly, right? So then 2 days later, they confirmed that my levels had actually gone down. So I was losing this baby too. So that was my second embryo. And then I remember I was just going through a very hard time. I had lost a loved one too. That same day that they told me that I was going to lose that baby, I had also lost a loved one. And so I was just all over the place. It was the day before Thanksgiving. So I remember just feeling discouraged, even depressed, right? So I talked to my doctors, because they were like, you know, we want you to come in. Let's talk about our next steps, our next goal. And I chatted with him real quick, but I said, you know what? This was November, so right around Thanksgiving, I said, can we just talk about, I do want to talk about it, right? But can we just wait till after New Year's? Because I don't want to connect the holidays, which is my favorite time of year, to sadness, right? So I didn't want to transfer again and then be around Christmas, and then I'm just thinking about, like, I was already preparing myself for the worst, right? But just not working out for me. So I just didn't want to connect it to holidays. So I said, let's wait for after the holidays. So in January, we went in, we had a chat, we talked about, okay, what else can we do for this last embryo to have a good chance? So then we talked about how we should check my thyroid levels again, and that for me to go get a pap smear again. And then I told him about how I heard about a lining scratch. So a little bit about what a lining scratch kind of means. From my understanding, it's kind of like they do kind of like a biopsy, right? So yeah, they do kind of like a biopsy down there, and then they say, so a biopsy is kind of like, so it's a lining scratch is kind of like let's say kind of like when you get a cut, right? Like when you're young, when you're little and you are running and you get those ugly sticky scabs on your knees because you fell on the concrete, and it's super sticky, like when it's healing, right? So a lining scratch is kind of like that. So they, you know, do like a small biopsy down there. So when it's healing, when it's going through that, it's kind of sticky, right? So then there's like a wound. So in other words, it's like your embryo, when you get ready to, let's say you would do a lining scratch this month, in like 3 weeks you would have transfer. So in other words, like when you transfer that embryo, that wound is kind of sticky, right? Because it's healing but not completely healed. So that embryo, it kind of gets stuck there. So it gives it kind of like a better chance for it to stick. So I hope I make sense. Everything used to be fresher in my mind back then, but I just can't even remember, right? So yeah, after they do the lining scratch, they said okay, in like 3 weeks we have to transfer. So I told him about that I wanted a lining scratch, and he said we can do that. So what I did different in my last transfer was I did the lining scratch. I checked my thyroid levels again, and good thing I did, because they were not where they should be. So that could have caused an issue too with my other transfer. So now my levels were back to normal. They adjusted, and then I did the lining scratch also. They checked for polyps again, and everything looked good. So yeah, so we had done these few things, and so we did everything we could to give that last embryo the best chance. And I was mentally exhausted, so sorry, I'll drink a little bit because my voice. So I was mentally exhausted, and to be completely honest, I wasn't even too excited anymore, because at this point I was just guarding my heart. I did not want to get too excited because I was afraid of failure, right? It had always been a negative test for me, so why would it be different this time? So then I said, okay, you know, we did all that and we prepared for a second transfer. So then that day that we went in, you know, I was excited, but also trying not to be too excited. And yeah, they said your embryo thawed really nicely, you know, it looks really good, so you know, let's do this. So I went that day. I was wearing my same sweater that I wore the first time, the same outfit, everything that I wore the first time that I was going to transfer. And that day I remember looking at the screen, and he was just showing me, look, this is how you see that little dot, that's your embryo. I feel really good about it. Everything looks the way it's supposed to look. And he showed me exactly where he implanted, right, which he wanted to look like a fluffy little pillow down there where exactly he's going to implant, and that's exactly what it looked like. So he felt really confident about it, which made me feel a little bit better. But then this time I said, you know what? I am not going to test early. I'm just going to wait for the 10th day to go get my blood work, because it is just torture to my heart. Testing early, because if I get a negative, I'm just going to be sad the whole time until I get to the 10th day of wait, right? So I'd rather just enjoy these days of being pregnant until proven otherwise, and just enjoy being pregnant and not like find out that I'm not. So when I transferred, I said, this time I'm not gonna test early. I'm going to enjoy being pregnant for now, because as soon as they implant the embryo, you are pregnant. So I remember just feeling exhausted, tired, but like I said, the medications mimic pregnancy. So I just thought I'm probably just exhausted because of that. And I kept myself busy. I did a lot of things. I tried not to think about it. This time I did kind of move around. I went for walks. I did my little bit of cleaning because I love cleaning. So the first time I didn't do any of that. I wanted to just kind of be on bed rest and relax and take care of myself. I was afraid of lifting anything. I took a lot of days off work. And yeah, this time I just kind of did my own little thing around the house, still moving around, right, and going for walks. And yeah, my blood work was going to be on a Saturday. That was the 10th day. And I remember my clinic, there's 2 locations that I used to go to. So there's a location in Arlington, which was where I would initially go for all my ultrasounds and blood work and stuff like that. And then there's another location in Las Colinas, Texas, that's where you get like your egg retrievals, and you can go for your other appointments too. But my doctor was not really in that location. He would go whenever we would have to have egg retrievals and stuff like that, but that's not his main location. but he told me you can go to that location on Saturday so they can do your blood work. And my normal nurse was not there either, because that's not her location of where she would normally be. So it was another nurse, and she was super nice too, but you know, I was just being spoiled by my favorite nurse at the Arlington location, because man, they were amazing. I have to tell you guys, I'll tell you guys the details about this location. So yeah, when I got my blood work done, I said, you know what, I'm not gonna be next to the phone waiting on these results. I'm just going to let it be. I'm not going to be stressing over it or obsessing over it. And yeah, I said, it's out of my control. I just said, God, it is what it is. If this is meant for me, it's gonna be for me. I did everything I could. I put my body through all this aggressive treatment, and I gave it my best, right? So I was at peace with it, and I said, if it's gonna work out, it's going to work out, and if it's not, and thank you for the opportunity that I was able to do this, to give myself a chance, and at least we tried. And now me and my husband wouldn't be able to say we never even tried this, right? And wouldn't continue arguing about it, and would just come at peace with it. So I was just not even thinking about it. And then that day I was super exhausted, so I went to sleep. So that's how much I wasn't even trying to have it on my mind. So I went to sleep, and I missed the phone call for my results. And then the clinic was closed by this time, so I was like, man, I missed it. So I was by myself because my daughter was helping my mom out at her restaurant, and my husband works on Saturdays. And I woke up, and they had left me a voicemail, and I heard the voicemail, and the lady, I don't really know her, so I don't really know her vibe, right? So when she called, I couldn't recognize what her tone of voice meant, if it was a good result or a bad result. If you're going through this journey, you know you're always trying to look out for that tone of voice to see what you're probably going to hear. So she told me, well, Lizette, this is so-and-so from the clinic. Well, keep doing what you're doing. Keep taking your medications. Because everything's looking great. So yeah, I'm going to, please give us a call so you can schedule your appointment for your second lab work, right? Which is what tells you, like in 2 days you go get blood work, and it confirms if your levels are going up or if they're going down, which means if they're going up, your pregnancy is going well. And if they're going down, your pregnancy is not going well, and you could have a miscarriage, right? So she just told me that, but I heard no congratulations, no nothing. So I'm like, what does this mean? So I decided to go. I mean, I thought I heard I was pregnant, right? She just told me to continue my medications. When I, lost my other baby, they told me stop your medications. And so I was like, I think I'm pregnant. And then I was by myself. So then I was not sure, but I mean, I was like, I know that's what I understood. So I also saw my result on the LabCorp website, and it showed me that my numbers had gone up. They had doubled like they want to see. So yeah, I was by myself. I had no one to celebrate with. I got down on my knees and I praised the Lord, and I cried. And then I was also having like a laugh attack, because I just said, I can't believe that, like even talking about it right now, I'm like, it happened to me. Like, I'm pregnant. Like, this actually happened to me. And so yeah, and I just didn't know what to do, because it was like, my husband's going to get home from work soon, and I was just not prepared to get a positive result. I was just too afraid to get too excited, and I ran to TJ Maxx, and I bought that. It was close to, because I transferred May 25th, right? I transferred May 25th, so there was a lot of Father's Day things at the store already because Father's Day was going to be the following month. So I remember going to the store and buying this card that said Happy Father's Day, a little cute baby outfit, some stickers, a cute little box, and that's where I put my pregnancy test and all the goodies, right? And so that whenever he would arrive and see this box just sitting there on the counter for him. It was just something really quick that I can come up with because, like I said, I did not want to get too excited, so I never prepared like a pregnancy reveal for him, right? So yeah, he arrived and he saw it and we hugged and we cried. We couldn't believe it. But then my nurse called me on Monday and she did leave me an awesome voicemail saying, "Congratulations, Lizette. I am so happy for you. You know, you're pregnant." And yeah, we just rejoiced. We were so happy. We couldn't believe it happened. But yeah, I was still nervous because, like I said, I was so used to just guarding my heart and protecting myself and too afraid to get excited and to be pregnant, right? So yeah, guys, so I got pregnant at 34 years old. I got pregnant at 34 years old with my 33-year-old egg and had her at 35. So yeah, pregnancy was definitely hard on me this time around. I got pregnant as a teen. I was 16 when I got pregnant with my first daughter, and I think it was like a piece of cake on my body when I was young, but now that I am 35, it was definitely hard on my body. I feel like I've had so many health issues since after pregnancy. I definitely did go through depression and like after having her. But yeah, definitely when I was going through this journey, I remember deleting my Facebook, deleting all my friends. I just did not want to focus on anything else but my pregnancy, and I did not want to be tempted to share my journey on Facebook, so nobody knew I was going through my IVF journey. I just kind of kept to myself. I wanted to focus on myself, on my health. I know, you know, some friends probably thought, like, why did she delete me? Why did she delete her Facebook? But no one was going to be able to give me advice when it came to this subject because they can't. They don't know what I'm feeling. They don't know what I'm going through. They have children. I also have a daughter, but this is a secondary infertility, and it's also hard for us, you know, just like someone that's trying to conceive for the first time. It had been so many years for me and I was not able to conceive, and my husband had no children, so it was definitely hard for us. So yeah, I just kind of got away from the world. I did not talk to anybody. I was just focused on me, my husband, my family, on our mental health. And yeah, guys, so one thing I remember is, like, whenever we were struggling to conceive, I remember how people would ask, "How come you're not getting pregnant? When are you going to have kids? Like, why don't you give your husband a kid?" Like, and a lot of my husband's family would ask me that that question, and I don't think they meant any harm by it, but they didn't even know that it wasn't like our choice that we didn't want to have kids. We were struggling. We were having you know, problems as a couple because we couldn't get pregnant. We were just so frustrated with each other and blaming each other. In my mind, I'm like, I don't know why people ask those kind of questions. It's obvious that if it's been like, you know, for over a decade of not being able to conceive, or we have no children together, it must be because there's an issue, right? So, you know, I just say, guys, like, think twice before you ask those questions, because you just don't even know what's going on behind doors. Like, my husband was the one with the male factor issues, and it's like whenever they would ask those questions, it's like, you know, that could have been hurting his feelings, and he was probably feeling sad inside and frustrated and acting like it was not hurting him, but it was. And then for me, it was tough too, because I mean, what can I do about it? I couldn't do anything about it. I wanted to have a baby. I wanted to be with my husband. I wanted to be a mom again, but I much rather have my husband than have a baby. So I hope that makes sense. So like when we would have our arguments, I would say mean things too to him. And I remember I would say, oh, I could have babies. We know you haven't had any. But then when everything would be okay, I would apologize and I would say, I'd rather have you than to leave you to be with somebody that I could have a baby with, right? But then I was giving up on my dream too. So it was just so hard. And so like being able to have Emma has been such a blessing. I mean, yes, it's been a little bit hard because we're not as young. We are in our 30s. I am 37 and my husband is 39. So, I mean, I feel like I'm in my 50s because I was a teen mom. So I started way ahead of my time, right? So now that we're in our 30s, it's like we're not as young as we were when we, because he raised my oldest daughter, right? So we're not as young as we were back then. So we're exhausted now, but I wouldn't have it any other way. That's why I am so obsessed with her and I enjoy her so much because, you know, I desired for her for so many years. I still can't believe she's mine sometimes. She brings us so much joy. I think I have a lot of more gray hairs because of her, of course, but I mean, it's fun. It's fun having her in our lives and everything revolves around her. I mean, everything's about her now. So all our plans are all about what would she enjoy, right? So yeah, when I had her, my daughter was 18. So they are actually 18 years apart. And my daughter, you know, treats her like her own daughter. And yeah, she loves her. She is not jealous of her. So because Emma does get all the attention now, I just tell my oldest daughter, you had 18 years to yourself. Now let's give Emma, you know, her time. Because it's sad to think about how my oldest daughter, her name is also Lizette, Lizette has 18 years more than Emma will ever have with us, right? So that makes me so sad to think about that. So I try to enjoy her as much as I can. That's why I am a stay-at-home mom, because I am not ready to put her in daycare. I have worked in early childcare for about 18 years, so I know what it's like to have your child in daycare, but I am just not ready to have Emma in childcare right now. I am afraid. I just hear so many mean things, even though I consider myself a great teacher and I know that I would never do anything like that to hurt a child. I know there is schools where they do. You hear about all these scary stories and it just makes me so sad and so afraid to think that she could be put in a position like that, right? So I am a stay-at-home mom, so you know, it's hard financially because my husband's the only one working. My daughter is helping now as well. So yeah, we just have to cut back on some, you know, expenses. I can't go out shopping like crazy like I would if I, you know, brought that extra money. So, you know, my husband like tries to treat me and we go here and there and I buy little things here and there, like decor for this, decor for that. But that's why I can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna buy all this stuff because I want to make a video for that and for that. I have to do it little by little because I don't have that extra moolah coming in, you know. But I'm grateful. I feel so blessed to be able to stay at home with my daughter until she has to go to school. So yeah, I am super overprotective with her for that same reason, that she is a miracle baby. She is our dream come true. She is proof that, you know, there's a God, and I'm just grateful. I still can't believe she's mine. Yeah, guys, so this is a little bit of my story. I know I feel like I am missing things, but yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys. Oh yeah, I wanted to share the clinic that I went to. Yes, so I actually went to a clinic called IVFMD in Arlington. My doctor was Dr. Raj. I recommend him 100%. Him and his nurses, I mean, they were amazing. I had a great experience. I never felt dumb asking any question. He used to call me to conversate with me if I had any type of question. If I would call to ask him, you know, can you guide me in this and that, they were always available. I mean, I never felt like I made a wrong choice going with them, right? And so yeah, I definitely recommend them. They are again in the Arlington location. I know they have a location in Las Colinas as well. So yeah, I will try to post a link of the clinic that I went to. And again, his name was Dr. Raj. And yeah guys, so this was actually a little picture of the embryo, my 4CB embryo that they gave me the day that they transferred Emma. So this was her. I got to see her before they transferred her, so I will keep this forever. And I actually want to get a watercolor painting of that. And then these are my pregnancy tests. They were positive. I had never seen a positive test after my oldest daughter, so that was definitely surreal. And then this is also one of the little frames I had bought at Hobby Lobby that day that I found out I was pregnant. So this was also in the box that I prepared for my husband. It says, "For this child I have prayed." So yeah guys, I never thought that it would work for me. So if you are going through this journey and you are looking up videos right now, trying to inform yourself the best that you can to see if you know, could possibly go through with this journey, I mean, don't get discouraged. It is expensive, but shop around, look around. I am not a person that has all this money, that I never thought I could do it, but it is doable. Do your research, look at reviews, and you know, if you guys have any questions at all, and if I can be of any support to you and answer any kind of question, you know, on my Instagram, send me a message, ask me whatever you guys would like. If I can help you in any way I can, I will. I remember it feels so lonely going through this journey. Like I said, I had, you know, disconnected myself from the world, from Facebook, from having any friends, from going out to the club like I used to with my husband. I mean, we were just completely focused on us, and we were going to church, and that's another thing that I want to go back to. You know, it's you know, I prayed for this miracle, and then I was so focused on going to church, and then when it happened, I just kind of disconnected myself, which is not okay, you know. But yeah guys, thank you so much for sticking to my video. If you are still here till the end, let me know in the comments that you made it till the end. Share anything you guys would like with me. I hope this video helps you guys get to know me a little bit more and connects you to me. I would love to have you subscribe and give my video a like. I'm completely new to this YouTube journey, but I am excited. I want to grow, so please support me. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to message me or give me a comment. I am here to help you. So thank you guys. I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.